What's up? What's up? What's up?
Hey, hey, hey.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to Uncomfy Truths, episode 19. I am your co host, Conservative Brother Daily. Here with my main man, Conspiracy Brother. We back at it again. How's it going? Good, sir.
Not too bad. A lot of stuff going on lately, right?
A lot of
Seems
stuff.
like there's always some big event. So, you know,
Always something, man. Always something. Apologize. You guys know for sure we a black show because we did start pretty late. I apologize on my end, but we definitely black. So those of y'all viewers wondering, or not our identity, we got CP time here when we need it. So, you know, glad we back up in this thing. So yeah, I got the screen share ready, conspiracy brother. If you wanted to maybe kick things off with the first topic or article, and I'll screen share away. Yeah.
okay. So this is kind of, I think it consumed the news maybe the first 2 to 3 days after it dropped, and then you've kind of seen it die down, which is kind of the state of our news cycle nowadays. With the 24-hour news cycle, uh, or a with the 24-hour news stations, the news cycle has really um, the news cycle is kind of diminished. So you have like a 24-hour news cycle, even for big deal stories,
Mm-hmm.
um, unless there's a very slow news, a news week, news day, and then or if it's a topic that's more on the unsavory side, they'll try to either push those topics away quickly, or they'll
Mm-hmm.
elevate some others if they're particularly important. I remember when the earthquake happened in Haiti, had to have been around like 2009, and CNN basically had like 24-hour coverage for the whole month of January. Um, and I think, obviously it was a great natural disaster, but I think a part of it was just it was a slow news period, and so they tried to milk that for what they could. So here you have Putin
Oh
speaking
yeah, and
about.
conspiracy brother too. If you want, I feel like maybe we can just talk about the initial Tucker Carlson interview with Putin because I
Sure.
know this isn't your article, so we can maybe give our initial thoughts, and then I can hop right over to the first article you shared. So I mean, because you can read this one if you want, but I know this you didn't pick this one, but we can
It
give
doesn't
our
matter.
initial thoughts on the Putin interview in general before we deep
Yeah.
dive. I don't know. Up to you.
No, I'm fine. I mean, we can read this. It's good to get a different variety of articles. So if you want to read this one, I wanted to. I actually wanted to try to pull some clips from the actual article. I mean, the video, like
Mhm.
to try to show some, but it's so long, and
Yeah.
I didn't really get a chance to break them down like that. So I have we have other jobs and obligations, so it's not just YouTube for us at this point. Maybe one day, eventually, we can get to that point where we can devote 8 hours a day or whatever it takes,
Right.
40 hours a week to YouTube. But at this point, we're kind of just at the mercy of whoever we can credit to break down videos and things like that. And Tucker didn't have any bookmarks in the video about certain topics, so we didn't get I didn't get a chance to pull any specific points in the video to kind of show for greater emphasis. But so the video about 2 hours long. The interview is about 2 hours long. I want to say maybe the video might be 2 hours and 20 minutes long. I forget. I watched it twice, and the first 30 minutes or so, Putin essentially gives a rundown of the history of Russia and the Ukraine from about the 9th century to modern day. And it's not necessarily in sequential order, but it's relevant to certain key points in the development of Russia as a country, and the Russian people and the Russian identity. And one of the things that also says is that he expected expected the interview question, well, the first question to be kind of like a filibuster, and he was expecting the answer to be a filibuster answer, and then we talk for 30 minutes, and then he's like, "Okay, well, our time is up, and I leave." And so
Mhm.
Tucker was surprised that he was able to essentially in the interview on his own, right? And so Putin gives this what he essentially establishes as, in a roundabout way, the basis for why he decided to invade Ukraine at this moment, and the history of the region and the people, in response to the question from Tucker about why he did it. And I mean, overall, it wasn't. I don't. I think as somebody who follows this, the Russia Ukraine situation and international politics and international dealings kind of closely, it the interview wasn't so revelatory for me. But I think if you are the type of person who likes Tucker Carlson, but you may not um, watch a lot of international news, and you don't get a lot of the other side of stories, this could be an eye-opening interview for you to give you a different perspective to see how you know another nuclear superpower in the world feels about our country, about what we're doing, about why we're doing it, and so I think in general it's a good thing. But I'll say even for me, one of the things that I enjoyed was that you were able to see a person who um, at least appears to do what he can in the best interest of his own country, for the improvement of his own country, standing in the face of what I consider to be the American empire, right?
Right.
American neoconservative, neoliberal interests who are only concerned with lining their own pockets, making sure that they prop up the military-industrial complex, and taking care of their friends and different special interests and corporations, while the American people suffer.
Hmm.
So um, yeah, I think I can get into this article if you want. It's
Yeah,
fine.
I mean, I could. Yeah, I can give some of my initial thoughts. But yeah,
Okay.
let's read the article. You can read the article first, and I'll give you kind of my thoughts.
Okay. So just to kind of frame it, a lot of people have tried to say that among those Hillary Clinton who, people like her still having enough um, audacity, having so little self awareness that they speak publicly, that they show their faces publicly, and they're not shamed or ashamed to do that, is kind of ironic and ridiculous at the same time. And so she called Tucker Carlson a useful idiot. And so
Huh.
everybody's trying to basically portray this interview as Tucker being a tool for Vladimir Putin or the Russian agenda. When I mean, essentially, what he does is interview Vladimir Putin, like many politicians, journalists have done in the past, of world leaders. And so, you know, again, here, Reuters is trying to use this comment from Putin um, to, I think, out of context to try
Hmm.
to say that, you know, Tucker Carlson had like some kind of softball interview or some type of handshaking interview that wasn't hard hitting. It wasn't um, an inquiry. It wasn't, you know, a tough at all. It was just, like obsequious, I guess would be the best word to use. And I would disagree with that, having watched the interview. Like I said twice, I'm not necessarily a Tucker Carlson fan. I do like people who try to find the truth and, for whatever our political or ideological differences are, I can set those aside for the information that I get, but I'm not going to donate to any, you know what I'm saying? I'm not going out of my way to donate to him or set aside money for him or anything like that. But I appreciate that of all the journalists that we've had who have been in positions like him with, mainstream audience, one of the most successful shows in primetime television, that he's made the sacrifices that he's made and done the things that he's done in order to try to get information out, to push the narrative of press freedom, anti-censorship, and getting out information and perspective for the American people. So, but we can get into the article unless you want to comment. I feel like sometimes I don't let you do that if you want. So
Yeah. Well, let's read the article, then I'll give my initial thoughts. Because definitely Reuters, along with AP, they've kind of definitely gotten more and more left-leaning, left favorable. But I'll give my initial thoughts once you read the article. So,
okay, so it says Putin says there are no piercing questions from Tucker Carlson. So it says February 14th, Reuters. I might need you to zoom in a bit. Let me see.
Oh, yeah.
I might be able to just. Yeah.
How's that?
Yeah, it's fantastic. So Reuters, President Vladimir Putin says he was surprised by the lack of sharp questions from U.S. television host Tucker Carlson in an interview that made headlines around the world last week. Putin told a Russian TV interviewer Pavel Zarubin that he had wanted Carlson to behave more aggressively, which would have given him a right to reply just as pointedly, quote, "To be honest, I thought that he would behave aggressively and ask so-called sharp questions. I was not just prepared for this. I wanted it because it would give me the opportunity to respond in the same way," end quote, Putin said in comments broadcast on Wednesday.
Oh,
yeah, no problem. In his first interview with an American journalist since before Russia's invasion of Ukraine nearly 2 years ago, Putin subjected Carlson to a half-hour lecture on history. He told Zarubin he was surprised that Carlson had not interrupted him more. Quote, "Frankly, I did not get full satisfaction from this interview," end quote, Putin said. The Kremlin said Putin had agreed to the Carlson interview because the approach of the former Fox News host differed from the, quote, "one-sided," end quote, reporting of the Ukraine conflict by many Western news outlets.
all right.
So, yeah, I'll let you take first crack.
Yeah. So, that's that shit right here. As we like to say, that's that shit. That's that shit. I think that was Will Smith, Bad Boys 2 or 1. That's that shit, to Martin Lawrence. I think what's just amazing here is the fact that, and I think it kind of speaks to that meme I shared in the group chat earlier. It was kind of like Barbara Walters next to Putin, journalism. Then they had like Tom Brokaw or Brian Williams, one of those guys next to Putin, an interview from years back. Journalism. And they had Tucker next to Putin and said, treason, So it's just so funny how just over the years, Putin's been one of the most censored figures in the sort of national conversation. And it kind of speaks to, once again, the similar kind of isolationist agenda the U.S. has also with Kim Jong-un or Kim Jong-il, his father. So once again, we know there are aspects of obviously communism, of nationalism that exist in these countries. We know that, obviously they have a regime unlike any other, but at the same time, how do we know everything we know about Putin and Kim Jong-un based on the slither that the modern corporate media gives to us? The end of the day, if the man's a tyrant, if the man's a nice guy, whatever it is, I want to hear him talk. I want to learn my enemy. And just this endless sort of mental gymnastics game that we see from the media, where they want to spin everything like to be, oh, Putin's this tyrant, Putin's this, oh, he's that. Once again, I know he's a communist leader. I know there's sections of pretty much how they treat LGBTQ or gay people, which is really, very problematic. But at the same time, if I'm not able to let the man hear what the enemy's saying or hear where he's coming from or how he got that way, I don't know what else to think. So if you look a lot of any of Putin's past messages, where I talked about this, where he talked about his demands on Ukraine not joining NATO, on how the Ukrainians, they were doing like ethnic cleansing of Ukrainians within I think Donbass or Lugansk. I forgot the names, but I've talked about this before. So you're finally seeing part of his side of the story. Now, to his credit as well, I think there was a section where uh, Tucker asked Putin, "Would you rather see Biden or Biden or Trump back in the White House?" And of course, what does he say? Oh, I think Biden's great. Yeah, I think Biden's, he's more level-headed, or blah blah blah, and kind of feeding all the answers. So I think on one end, yeah, you could say Tucker was a little soft with the questions because Tucker isn't. And didn't go. I don't think Tucker went into it agenda related. He didn't go into it like flaming left wing, like trying to be like hardball on the guy. So I think Tucker knew there'd be kind of a preconceived bias coming from Fox News, but I think Tucker built his reputation since then to be kind of level headed. So I think Putin kind of played into like, yeah, Biden's cool. Because I think at the end of the day, he will pay attention to stand up straight if Trump's back in office, you know. And like I said, I did watch the whole interview earlier this week. I don't remember every single tidbit, but I think looking at a macro view as I usually do, I like to say that quit listening to the noise, watch the interview for yourself. Tucker's not going, hail Russia. Oh, we love you, Putin. Oh my God. He's not sitting up in his chair and just like, dick sucking Putin off, like he's literally just like, hey, let's hear this man talk. These interviews have been done many times before. I didn't find anything. There's some things I found disturbing as far as kind of, you know, what communist sort of leaders do, But at the same time, I'm tired of just the corporate media having this sort of we're the better men, and we need to be in charge of what you can and cannot see. Let me make the decision for myself as a free American, as a free thinking person, to whether it's a sit down with Kim Jong Un, whether it's Zelensky. I'll sit through a whole interview with Zelensky if it's like at least a reporter that's not like just dick riding him the whole time, like, oh, you're so great. But either way, I don't find nothing wrong with the interview as far as just getting an inside look on kind of this man, how he thinks, maybe hearing some things that are usually cut off or censored, or MSNBC doesn't want to show this and that. So yeah, those are my initial thoughts on that. So I'll pass it to you, conspiracy brother.
Okay, so I mean, just the first thing I'll say is Russia isn't communist anymore. Honestly. Now we get that a lot, where from our propaganda news media,
Right.
that they're still a communist country, but they're not.
Mm-hmm. They're
But
national.
let's say they were. Let's say they were.
Mm-hmm.
They were. We still do dealings with China. We do dealings with Vietnam, who are full blown communists. And
Right.
so the inconsistency of it all is that we try to portray this steadfast anti-communist agenda when we have countries who are communists, who we have completely no problem with. But that's kind of more like a digression.
Mm-hmm.
But I think when you look at the way the media has tried to take the interview, like you said, oh, it was a softball interview. I think how the situation goes, and Tucker talked about this. He was at a conference in Dubai, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So the reporter was saying, how come you weren't more aggressive? How come you didn't ask him about, press freedom or something, And Tucker said, well, you can find that anywhere. You can turn to any mainstream news article or news media outlet, and you can see journalists asking those questions. He said, I wanted to ask him questions that you don't get to see. And so I don't think this was adversarial in the way that, Tucker was trying to attack Vladimir Putin, right? And what you might traditionally considered adversarial journalism. But I think he was trying to understand for the American people, because what I think happens, because I think Tucker already disagrees with the U.S. funding Ukraine, the U.S. trying to elevate Ukraine, to put them in NATO or to elevate them to the EU, any of this. I think he already disagrees with it. So I think what he tried to do, if you understand the interview from that perspective, he's trying to frame the interaction in a way that allows the rest of us who may not be aware the opportunity to see why, the Russian people, the Russian country, Vladimir Putin has made the decision that he made to call for this type of invasion, special military operation, whatever, right? He wanted to give him an opportunity to express and explain himself. The same way, if, like I said, if there was a Chinese ship sailing between the U.S. From sailing between Florida and Cuba, the U.S. would take offense to it. When you look at the Cuban Missile Crisis, when the Soviets gave Cuba nuclear weapons, the U.S. had an issue with that, right? It is the same situation where, we can speak every day, all day long about the self-determination of a people. But if you have a neighbor who is larger than you, more militarily advanced than you are, and they don't like something you're doing, and they are so inclined to get involved in your internal affairs, you're at the mercy of the bigger country. I mean, to quote the illustrious intellect that is the vice president, you have a big country. Russia is a big country. Ukraine is a small country. You know what I'm saying? That's where we are.
Yeah.
That's it. I mean, the United States likes to enforce its own geopolitical pressure on Mexico, on Canada, on everybody in the whole world. I mean, you look at Europe. Europe has essentially committed Japanese ritual suicide on itself at the behest of the United States empire. So I think, understanding why he's doing what he's doing puts it in a perspective that American people can see. This war doesn't make Americans safer. It doesn't make us safer, right? American people are not safer. It isn't for us. It is not about us. If anything, it makes us unsafe. And we need to stand up and demand that our politicians deal with the problems we have here at home. That's what I think the framing of this interaction should be viewed through. Even when you look at, later in the video, Tucker says to Putin, Lindsey Graham says that if there's no funding given to Ukraine, that U.S. soldiers will have to be deployed. I think Lindsey Graham and Chuck Schumer said it. And Vladimir Putin says, "Don't you have problems in the United States? Why do your people want to die for Ukraine? Why would you want to die for Ukraine?" And, on the one hand, you can say, well, why does he want to die for Ukraine? Because as a Russian, this is an existential issue for him and for his countrymen, right? This is the same way, as I'm saying, if there was some geopolitical threat to us, if ISIS, which, you can see whatever degree to ISIS because the U.S. government funded ISIS, Obama, the Obama administration funded ISIS. So were they actually a legitimate threat to the United States? I don't know. But, say ISIS, let's say they set up a base in Mexico in order to subvert the U.S. government or the U.S. people in some way. It would be an existential threat to the United States. They would do all they could. Everyone who would be willing to fight, every American citizen would be willing to fight if there was some universally recognized threat, a la World War II that sought to overtake, America and all that we hold near and dear. But that isn't, Ukraine ain't that for me. You have a hard enough time getting people to join the military now as it is. Nobody want to go to die in Ukraine. Nobody wants to do that. The Russian people are willing to do that. And we can't match that anger, that intensity, that passion, that you can't match it. You can't match it. Not for Ukraine, you can't match it.
I'm not
You
going.
see what I'm saying?
I don't know about you. I ain't going either.
I wouldn't let my kids go. I wouldn't let, nobody. I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't go if they tried to force me and they offered a draft. I'm too old to be drafted, but if they tried to offer a draft, I would just go to jail. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like,
I'll take jail.
I wouldn't go. I'm not fighting for Ukrainians.
Mm.
American people can't locate Ukraine on a map, even if you label the map. Why would I go to Ukraine? Why would I go fight in Ukraine? I would rather go fight in Texas at the southern border or up at the northern border where you have an influx of migrants. If I was going to fight to defend something, I'd join the God's Army militia and fight the U.S. Army before I did that.
That's base. Yeah, join that Texas border.
Yeah, I fight border patrol before I went to Ukraine. You know what I'm saying? It makes absolutely no sense. But like Putin said in the video, or he at least I can't remember it exactly, but he at least, if he didn't say this, he insinuated, our politicians don't value us. Nobody in Washington does anything in the best interest of the people. Nobody. Democrats, Republicans, none of them. They don't do what's in the best interest of the people. And so you're in this situation where, you're trying to appeal to a higher moral, not authority, but a higher moral you're trying to appeal to a higher sense of morality from immoral people. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So, it's a lot. It's a lot. So we got a lot more to get into with we got a lot of reactions, media libs melting down. We're gonna talk a little bit about that. But once again, guys, you were listening to Uncomfy Truths. We usually stream live every Friday, sometimes Saturday, bi-weekly. So like every 2 weeks, twice a month, mainly on Fridays. I'm conservative brother here with conspiracy brother. We're about to get into our next article. Feel free to contribute. We are on Give, Send, Go. And we're going to get right into it. I'll read this next one. Once again, just parlaying to all the reactions from the Tucker Putin interview. Now we have this one. Biden blames Putin for Navalny's death. Urges House to pass Ukraine funding. This is from The Hill by Brett Matthews, just posted earlier today. So President Biden on Friday blamed Russia President Vladimir Putin for the death of opposition leader Alexey Navalny, if I'm saying that right, and urged House Republicans to pass aid for Ukraine in the wake of the incident. Reports of his death, if they're true, I have no reason to believe they're not. Russian authorities are going to tell their own story, Biden said in the remarks in the White House. But make no mistake, Putin is responsible for Navalny's death. Putin is responsible. What has happened to Navalny is yet more proof of Putin's brutality. No one should be fooled, he continued. The president said that the U.S. does not know exactly what happened to Navalny, but his death was a consequence of something that Putin and his thugs did. There goes that thug word again. All right. The Russian Federal Prison Service said early Friday that Navalny felt unwell after a walk and lost consciousness. An ambulance arrived and his crew tried to rehabilitate him and was unsuccessful, it added. Navalny was serving a 19-year sentence on charges for extremism and in December was moved to a different prison to the highest security level facility in the country near the Arctic Circle. The Special Regime Penal Colony prison in the town of Karp, which is about 1,200 miles northeast of Moscow, is in the remote area known for its severe winters. Navalny has been in prison since January 2021 when he returned to Russia after recovering from a poisoning that he blamed on Putin, who has denied trying to kill Navalny with a nerve agent. Biden had warned after a 2021 meeting with Putin in Geneva that there should be devastating consequences, and Navalny died. Which he had the same smoke for Gonzalo Lira as well. We're going to get into that. He said Friday that Russia has faced significant consequences in the nearly 3 years since, pointing to the sanctions and the deaths of thousands of soldiers in its invasion of Ukraine. We're contemplating what else can be done, he said. The president used his remarks to call on House Republicans to pass billions of dollars in aid to Ukraine in his war against Russian forces, saying Navalny's death reminds us of the stakes of this moment. We have to provide funding so Ukraine can keep defending itself against Putin's vicious onslaughts and war crimes, Biden said. History is watching the House of Representatives, Biden added. The failure to support Ukraine at this critical moment will never be forgotten. The Senate overwhelmingly passed a national security supplement funding package that included money for Ukraine, Israel, and Indo-Pacific allies. But Speaker Mike Johnson, Republican from Louisiana, has indicated that he will not bring the legislation up to a vote in the House because it does not contain border security provisions demanded by his conference. Johnson earlier this month rejected a bipartisan border security proposal from the Senate. All right, so conspiracy brother, what you got on this? And then I'll give my thoughts as well.
Well, I wanted to, we got the article kind of going over who Alexey Navalny is, right? Because I've heard different things about him, but I've never really looked much into him. I know he was running for president at one point, and a lot of Western nations, specifically the U.S. and EU, wanted him to eventually be the president of Russia.
Yeah.
Like they were hoping he would take over and kind of like sell the country out, like they tried to do after the Soviet Union fell. But Biden had a press conference today, as you read and everything.
Yeah.
And Alexei Navalny is not even a U.S. citizen. Ukraine, who the U.S. has given at least $120 billion, killed Gonzalo Lira, a U.S. citizen and journalist, because he criticized Ukraine, who we have given, and are trying to give billions of dollars to. And he didn't say nothing. Right? This is, and it cannot be emphasized. It cannot be overemphasized. This is how these people operate. They have no credibility. They have no legitimacy. These people are all frauds. Anyone who supports them on either side of the aisle, you are willfully deluding yourself. Okay, these people are fraudulent, fugazi. Okay, trying not to cuss because my dad, he don't like me to cuss when he watches the show. So I'm trying to, but and it's hard. It is hard because I have a lot of F-bombs I want to drop.
Yeah.
Right. But it's ridiculous. This man didn't even say to the country, we're giving 120 billion minimum. They're trying to give them 60 billion more. And that's just cash. I don't think that includes the weapons. You're supporting their government. You're supporting their public works, their civil servants, police, teachers, stuff like that. Right? That's not even including that we're giving to Ukraine. And you're talking about giving them U.S. soldiers on the ground, weapons, giving them so many weapons that our own defense is weakened as a result. And you're making statements about this guy and a U.S. citizen died, was killed in the Ukraine. And you have nothing to say? You can't even pretend to be bothered by it? No, these people don't have morals. They don't have any values. They have no ethics. The only thing they're concerned with is money. They're greedy bastards. They should all be ended. We need to have a revolution. When I say ended, I mean their political careers, not their natural lives, right? YouTube.
For the record, any feds listening to the show, yep.
Of which I know, I'm sure there are plenty.
Oh yeah, we don't have a
Especially with
couple.
AI, because you can, but
Yeah.
their careers need to be ended. Dismantle the system. We read the Constitution. We read that. Or the Declaration of Independence, I forget which one. But we read that last show. The government doesn't care about you. These people don't care about you.
Facts. All right. Yeah, I kind of jumped the gun a little bit, cut the article short, but now we're on the next one.
Cool. It's
So
cool
now
because I mean, we could transition back and forth. I just think this would be good to give context about who this guy is, why we're so concerned with him as a nation. You know, because like I've said before, and I've said this about, you look at issues having to do with LGBT ideology, right? If you're LGBT, live your life. You're a free person, do what you want to do. The U.S. government is pushing this around the world to countries who don't accept this way of life, right? You see a lot like Africa now. You see where they're promoting LGBTQ in Africa. Kenya, they're pushing back. I think Uganda is pushing back with laws against this. And the reason I bring that up is because what you have to think about, America's only had gay marriage legal since 2012 or 13. And it wasn't even by a ballot measure or a law being passed. It was because the Supreme Court essentially ruled that you couldn't legally discriminate marriage to be between a male and a woman, a male and a female, and a male and a male, or a woman and a woman. That was the Dobbs v. What was it? Dobbs v. I forget. Or it wasn't that was Dobbs was the Roe v. Wade, the overturned the abortion. It was like something with the gay marriage thing. But what I'll say is America just started doing this in this country legally in 2012. And after that, now you're trying to export it full steam ahead. I think in Jamaica, like at the embassy in Jamaica, the U.S. embassy, they had a gay flag. And that's like, Jamaica, they're pretty strict about homosexuality. And so what I said is nothing that America thinks is good, do they export, right? Nothing that they think is valuable, do they export. And so this is irrespective of my own views. I think, people should be able to do, as long as they're of age, whatever they want to do, as long as they're not hurting anybody else, as long as they're not infringing on anybody else's freedom, as long as they're not infringing upon anybody else's ability to live their lives safely and happily, you better do generally what you want. The United States government is not going out there handing out vaccines if they're good for you, right? You don't see them handing out insulin, right?
Right.
Do you know of anywhere where they're handing out insulin to diabetics for free? Do you see anywhere where they're handing out? Say it again.
No, not yet.
Do you see anywhere where they're handing out free, nutritious food that's not full of hormones or dangerous chemicals and byproducts and process to hell? No, right? Or do you know somewhere I don't? All the food we have here, the McDonald's meat is full of pink sludge. All the bread is full of preservatives. We don't have any situation in America where they're doing anything good for you for free. Nowhere.
Yep, it's that quote. It's that quote. If it's free, then you are the product. You ain't got to pay for it. You are the product. You're the data they want. The data they want to mine.
And so we just saw the U.S. government allow the U.S. citizen to be murdered by an ally who we fully support. If the U.S. government didn't support Ukraine, they would cease to exist. This war would have been over a year ago if the U.S. wouldn't artificially be propping up this country, this fake country. It's not a real country. And, you know, we can go into that if you want. But so here's who Alexey Navalny is. From Russian nationalist agitator to, look at that. This breaking news. Ukrainian forces withdraw from key Donbass city. I'm sure they're talking about Adievka. So from Russian nationalist agitator to darling of Western liberals, who was Alexey Navalny? The politically minded blogger wore many hats over a career that spanned 2 decades. Let's see. Alexey Navalny collapsed and died on Friday in a prison colony north.
Oh, there you go.
Go back some more. Go back a little more. Right. North of the Atlantic. Yeah. Okay. Where he was serving a 19-year sentence for extremist activities. He was 47. In the West, he enjoyed the reputation of a Kremlin critic and Russian, quote, opposition leader, end quote. Is that anything like how what's the guy's name in Venezuela was the real president, Juan Guaido? They called him the real president of Venezuela, and then everywhere he went, he would just get harassed, and they would throw food at him. Is that anything? Call him the opposition leader? You know, this is just nuts. This is nuts. In Ukraine, he was denounced as a Russian nationalist. In Russia itself, his legacy is at best complicated. So this is the thing. Even Alexei Navalny would not have allowed Ukraine to be in NATO. The Russian people almost singularly do not agree with what they perceive as an attack on their existence. So even though he had disagreements with Putin, let's just say, even Ukraine considered him a Russian nationalist, which is to say he's not a friend of Ukraine in their eyes. Born in 1976, Navalny graduated from law school in 1998. And so 22 years. You can't graduate from law school in the U.S. in 22 years because you got to go to undergrad and then you got to go to grad school because it's a business here. School is a business. You used to be able to get a law degree years ago by reading law, which is just like an apprenticeship under a lawyer. You would have a lawyer essentially teach you how to understand law, and you would read law and study law, and you would be like a clerk. That was the point of being a law clerk. And so you were like an apprentice lawyer. And as law schools took off, they stopped that practice. And so like 7 states where you can still read law, but you have to have a bachelor's degree. So it's still essentially a type of law school. But I mean, America, everything is a business here. Everything in America is a business. The medical system, the educational system, everything, all that we do in this country, and you can't understand it unless you leave and just visit somewhere else. Everything we do here is a business. But so he earned his law degree and then a degree in finance in 21. So he had 2 graduate degrees, or a graduate degree and 2 bachelors, or a graduate degree and a bachelor's degree. I don't know. By the age of 25. He would go on to dabble in law, investments, and activism during his career, but kept coming back to politics. Quote, I have always been obsessed with politics, end quote. He told the outlet Commerçant Money in 2009, the nationalist phase. Between 2000 and 2007, Navalny was a member of the liberal Yabloko party before co-founding an ethnic nationalist movement called, quote, Narod, end quote. He appeared in 2 notorious YouTube videos for the movement, one advocating for gun rights to fight, quote, flies and cockroaches, end quote, while showing Muslims, and another comparing immigrants to tooth decay. You can go down a bit. In August 2008, Navalny spoke approvingly of the Russian intervention against Georgia on behalf of the beleaguered South Ossetia. He went on to participate in 3 annual, quote, Russian March, end quote, rallies with advocates for ethnic nationalism. Activists Envinia Albatz later said she had urged Navalny to join the marches as a way to leverage ethnic nationalism against the Kremlin. In 2010, Albatz would co-sponsor Navalny's 6-month stay in the U.S. through the Yale World Fellows Program. So look at that. Another example of the U.S. government building relationships with nationalists, with Nazis, with any type of right-wing, authoritarian-minded individuals. Then you come to Yale, come and hang out. Now that's what I'm telling you. All these senators, and I'm trying not to cuss. I'm really trying not to cuss. But all these senators, all these different politicians, judges, whatever at the federal level, they all go to these schools, man. They all go to these schools.
It's all one big club. You ain't in.
It's all one big club. And so Tom Cotton can get on the stage and try to act like, or whoever it was grilling that the president from Harvard. They can get on stage and try to act like, hey, what are you doing? You went to this school, you donate this school money, you don't care. Okay, this is all for show, because if that were the case, why didn't you just go to Duke, which is in the South? Why didn't you go to Emory, which is in the South? Why didn't you go to Vanderbilt, which is in the South? You specifically wanted to go to Stanford or Harvard or Yale or Princeton or Columbia.
Conspiracy brother, while we on the topic of elites, I just want to share a tidbit. I've listened to a range of I've seen different clips of Gonzalo Lira like the past couple years. I've only gotten pretty savvy to him as of late, maybe 2021. So I was aware of him and like kind of what he's doing. But after he died, I went back and watched this full interview where he was interviewed. It was one of his last interviews from Mike Adams over at the Natural News. Shout out to him. He has a pretty good podcast called the Health Ranger Podcast. It's part of Natural News. But one thing Gonzalo Lira talked about, he was like, I know the elites because I came from that world. Gonzalo Lira was an elite as well. He went to these prestigious schools and whatnot, and he was able to kind of being in that world and navigating in that world. One thing he says about the elites is that they have like you kind of mentioned earlier, just a money, me mindset first. It's all about what can I do? Oh, sorry about that. It's all about what can I do to comply to get what I want to get to the certain level, because they go through years of school doing everything they got to do, follow the rules, do as I'm told. They get to college, join the right clubs, graduate, went on to do the right things. They get into their first job in the corporate career. All right, what can I do to toe the line, do what I have to do, play politics, and get to a certain level? And they usually plateau. They go through years of plateauing in school, plateauing in college, plateauing in their corporate career, because they want to get to that middle manager, be able to tell people, really like an HOA type personality, people that run homeowners associations, where they tiptoe to get to that level, and they usually plateau because the grip of power, they're more about, it's kind of what I'd like to talk about. Most people don't seek freedom. They really seek security. They really seek power. These elites, the main thing that Gonzalo Lira talked about was that they really seek power. Power comes through the form of seeking stability. Stability means security. Security means power. They're not truth tellers. They hate the truth. They hate the truth being exposed. That's the worst thing when it comes to like far left liberals, far right neocons, is that they don't like the truth exposed. So they don't stand on the side of truth or what's right or freedom. These elites, their whole mindset is based around seeking and acquiring power. Because once again, in power comes security, stability, and it's a mindset too. There's people that are like, the black bourgeoisie, professional managerial class, or the people that are like, upper class that defend the liberal agenda all day long. They all come from this mentality of elites seeking and acquiring power. They seek the stability, they seek the security, and they do anything to get the power from that, and everything else be damned, they'll sell everybody out. So I wanted to kind of throw in that tidbit. You keep going.
Well, I think those are great points because we have to understand that. In 1984, they talk about that, right? How all these different groups throughout history, they they tried to mask their desire for power
Mm-hmm.
by talking about liberty or freedom or justice or all these other things
Our
when they
democracy.
wanted right when they wanted power too, and so they said in the New World, Big Brother just wants power. They want that power is their end, right? It's not their means to an end. It is their end. They want power, and that's what these people want because power, like you said, what it imbues, it's stability, it is comfort, and so that's how they operate. But so it says the anti-corruption blogger. By that point, Navalny was already called on in his uh, had already called on his finance expertise to launch an investment activist group called quote Union of Minority Shareholders end quote, which tried to shake down major companies such as Rosneft, Gazprom, Lukoil, and others. His umbrella NGO network, the Anti-Corruption Foundation, was registered in September 2011. Navalny would continue accusing the government in Moscow, regional governors, and corporations of fraud, graft, and corruption, often getting sued for defamation in the process. Opposition leader. By February 2011, Navalny was dabbling in politics as well. He attacked the ruling United Russia Party as a collection of, quote, crooks and thieves, end quote, and in December claimed it has stolen the national elections. Western media dubbed him the, quote, Russian opposition leader, end quote, after he gave a series of speeches at anti government protests that followed. The high point of Navalny's political career was the July 2013 election for mayor of Moscow when he won 27.24% of the vote, but lost to Sergei Sobyanin. His attempt to run in the 2018 presidential election was blocked due to his criminal record. The Kirovals and Yves Rocher cases. Navalny's first criminal conviction was for the embezzlement from Kirovolis Estate Forestry Company in 2013. He was sentenced to 5 years in prison, but this was later changed to probation. The European Court of Human Rights said in 2016 that his actions had been, quote, indistinguishable from legitimate business activities, end quote. At the trial, Navalny denounced the charges as politically motivated and railed against the, quote, disgusting feudal system, end quote, in which, quote, 100 families, end quote, were allegedly looting Russia. Navalny and his brother Oleg, a postal employee, faced more charges of embezzlement in 2012 for defrauding the Russian branch of the French cosmetic giant Yves Rocher. The brothers were found guilty in December 2014, but Alexey once again received only probation. In 2019, the Russian government labeled Navalny's FBK a, quote, foreign agent, end quote, severely limiting its activities. 2022, poisoning and arrest. In August 2020, Navalny fell ill on a flight from Tomsk to Moscow and was transported to Germany for treatment. Western doctors alleged he had been targeted with a Novichok nerve agent, which Moscow rejected as a, quote, provocation, end quote. Upon returning to Russia, Navalny was arrested for breaching the terms of his probation and sent to a prison colony. He was hit with additional charges of fraud and contempt of court, receiving with an additional 9-year sentence in 2022. In August 2023, Navalny was sentenced to another 19 years behind bars on charges of fomenting, financing, and carrying out extremist activities and, quote, rehabilitating, end quote, Nazi ideology. The FBK was shuttered on government orders. In December 2023, Navalny was transferred to a penal colony in the Yamalo-Nenets region of northern Siberia. The cause of his death on Friday is still under investigation. And
Hmm.
so the Russians said it was a blood clot. They said he went for a walk. And after he got back from his walk, he complained of dizziness. And then after he, complained of dizziness, about 7 minutes later or so, he passed out. And they gave him about 30 minutes of mouth to mouth resuscitation. or not mouth to mouth, but they tried to resuscitate him for about 30 minutes, and ultimately he died. I looked up to see if you could have a blood clot from inactivity. You can. It's called a deep vein thrombosis. It can be caused due to inactivity. And so one of the articles that I put up kind of to go along with this is about the Angola 3, which is a group of prisoners in Angola who were sentenced to 40 years in prison from 1975. And if I'm not mistaken, all 40 of the years that they were in prison was spent in solitary confinement.
Ooh.
So the Angola 3 are 3 African-American former prison inmates, Robert Hillary King, Albert Woodfox. I think Albert Woodfox just recently died. And Herman Wallace. They eventually got out, who were held for decades in solitary confinement while in prison at Louisiana State Penitentiary, also known as Angola Prison. The latter 2 were indicted in April 1972 for killing of a prison corrections officer. They were convicted in January 1974. Wallace and Woodfox served more than 40 years each in solitary confinement, the quote, longest period of solitary confinement in American prison history, end quote. Robert King was convicted of a separate prison murder in 1973 and spent 29 years in solitary confinement before his conviction was overturned on appeal. He was released in 2001 after taking a plea deal. Starting in the late 1990s, each case was assessed, and activists began to work to have the cases appealed and convictions overturned because of doubts raised about the original trials. In July 2013, Amnesty International called for the release of 71-year-old Herman Wallace, who had been diagnosed with terminal liver cancer. He was released in October 1st, 2013, due to a judge overturning his original indictment due to lack of female jurors. The state re-indicted him on October 3rd, 2013, but he died on October 4th, 2013, before he could be rearrested. On November 20th, 2014, Woodfox's conviction was overturned by the U.S. Court of Appeals. In April 2015, his lawyer applied for an unconditional writ of his release. For his release, his unconditional release was decided on June 10th, 2015. He was released on February 19th, 2016. So 3 days from now, it'll be 8 years ago, after the prosecution agreed to drop its push for a retrial and accept his plea of no contest to lesser charges of burglary and manslaughter. He said he would have liked the chance to prove his innocence, but chose the plea deal because of advanced age and health issues. Woodfox died from complications due to COVID-19 August 4th, 2022, at the age of 75. So that was, if you look up solitary confinement, hit the hyperlink. I believe that either the
solitary confinement.
Yeah, hit that. It's considered like a torture, a form of torture.
Oh yeah, by yourself. Oh, hold on. Oh, sorry. Hold on a second. All right.
Yeah. Let's see. Robust body research shown that solitary confinement has a profound negative psychological, physical, and neurological effects on those who experience it. It often lasting well beyond one's time in solitary. While corrections officials have stated that solitary confinement is a necessary tool for maintaining the safety and security of prisons and jails, numerous medical, mental health, and legal professional organizations have criticized the practice and hold the view that it should be sharply curtailed. And so they said one of the reasons that the guys were actually put in solitary confinement because they were Black Panthers and they were trying to do a lot of organizing in the jails, getting the prisoners to read and stuff like that. And so they didn't like that. But you had these men in prison for 40 years, 2 of them, and 29 years, 1 of them, in solitary confinement, in which I think you get 1 hour of time outside of your cell.
Damn.
How great of a chance do you have of developing some deep vein thrombosis? I'm not saying that's what it is. I'm not saying that, maybe Russians killed them. I don't know. We don't fund Russia. So, if they kill their own citizens, shame on them. Shame on the Russian government. Shame on Vladimir Putin. But the United States is paying Ukraine, and they killed a U.S. citizen in prison. And our president has not said a word. Our Secretary of State hasn't said a word. The vice president hasn't said a word. The White House spokeswoman hasn't said a word. The State Department spokesperson hasn't said a word. So we have a long list of people who haven't spoken up one time. Yet they're running to speak about Alexey Navalny, who may have been murdered by his own government. We do not know. But our own citizens are being murdered by people our government is supporting. These people don't even have enough money to fund themselves, and they're killing our citizens, our fellow citizens, with our money. So, if you want to go back to that original article on the Hill, if you want to go back to that, if you want to give a comment on anything that I've talked about up to this point, I'll let you have a moment, because I feel like I've kind of talked a bit, read a bit, but I just wanted to try this. I like to cross-reference so we can try to set the stage for the corruption that we're dealing with. Because like Jimmy Dore always says, people think America is just a regular corrupt country. You know, hey, I was speeding, I give the police officer $50 and he lets me go. America ain't that kind of corrupt. America is the kind of corrupt where you're not speeding, you still get pulled over, you get a police $50, he puts you in jail for bribery, and then you still and then you get beat up, and they take all your stuff too because they said you had drugs, because he planted drugs on you at the same time. That's the kind of corruption we deal with.
Bruh, I got to give you hats off. I think this was a great way you kind of wrapped it up. We don't have to go back to the Hill article, but it just kind of goes to show just the bigger ecosystem of kind of what we're dealing with. And the fact that, like I said, I mean, you got, I don't know if Trump's going to say anything about Alexey Navalny, or, you got Biden, who's not saying nothing about Gonzalo. But, and we know they're like, there's the truth is in the middle. There's a right and a left, there's a black and a white, and the truth is somewhere in the middle. So I liked how you kind of tied it up to show that solitary confinement, whether it's Russia or America or Ukraine doing it, either way, you see this systemic torture of different methods using in this penal system. The American prison industrial complex is very lucrative for-profit system. And we see this disturbing things, whether it's Guantanamo, whether it's the Angola 3, to Gonzalo Lira, and then even Alexey Navalny, And once again, that article definitely helped me get a little more attuned to who he is, and also Gonzalo Lira, because I feel like there's enemies and heroes on both sides. And I'm not saying, Zelensky has blood on his hands along with Biden, but of course, Putin also has a hand, has a somewhat hand, not in Gonzalo, obviously, but we just don't know. At the end of the day, we don't know, because, there is a bit of Russian misinformation that goes out, not to the extent that America tries to gaslight, the Biden administration tries to gaslight, but we just have to kind of be aware that there is an info war, there's enemies on both sides, and just seeing the tactics used on all these different countries that are guilty of like these terrible crimes, on both sides is just mind-boggling. But I'll handle this next article. So this is one conspiracy brother you shared from Newsweek. They tend to lean a little left as well. They're center at times, and they go lean a little left. So here we go. From Newsweek, who is Gonzalo Lira? Pro-Putin American expat dies in Ukrainian jail. So they already line it up for the NPCs, the normies, that just read the headlines. It's pro-Putin. All right. So here we go. Gonzalo Lira, 55-year-old Chilean American who was in prison in Ukraine after allegedly spreading Russian propaganda, then violating his bail conditions, has died in a Ukrainian jail. And I want to do one little thing kind of inspired from what you did with looking up Angola 3. Let's go to Gonzalo Lira's Wikipedia. Wikipedia, which is, I'd say big tech is kind of extension of Operation Mockingbird as far as a lot of these sort of CIA government agency assets work at a lot of these big tech companies, not just media, also big tech, including Wikipedia. So at this thing, look at this. So once again, you got the majority of normie NPCs aren't really well read on shit that's going on. First thing they're gonna do after they see, oh, who's Gonzalo Lira? Oh, pro Putin. Let me go to the Wikipedia page and look what it has here. He is a Chilean American novelist, filmmaker, commentator, self-dating coach. He was in here it is. He was involved in the manosphere, posting anti-feminist content under Coach Red Pill. As a resident of Kharkiv, Ukraine, he vlogged about the 2022 Russian invasion of Ukraine and was described as spreading Russian disinformation and propaganda. Now, described by who? Described by who? Now, as far as the Red Pill Manosphere stuff, there is some stuff there that goes a little left field, that can be a little demeaning to women and whatnot, but a lot of that does wrap up in self-improvement, being a better man, not being taken advantage of. But what I bring up here, I'm not trying to defend the Manosphere, Red Pill as a whole, but as you can see, Conspiracy Brother, just look at the level of kind of bias, even though they'll claim, oh, we're non-biased. Like, they have to put that right here in the header so they could, if that ain't misinformation, what it is. Now, is there maybe a slither of truth to some of the things he was involved in? Yeah, but you could tell they just got to slip that in right at the top of the Wikipedia page, just so the masses, most of the normies can go, oh, yeah, he bad. Gonzalo bad. Orange Man bad. So I wanted to kind of just throw that out there, but I'll continue reading. Did you want to add anything to that?
Well, I was going to say, Wikipedia, even though we just used it for the Angola 3, right. Wikipedia is notoriously used by the CIA to paint pictures about people and portrays itself as a third party, like, a neutral third party, but they're not. Jimmy Dore talks about it all the time that there's one guy who just continues to type misinformation, lies on his Wikipedia page, and every time somebody goes and changes it to something accurate, because you're not technically supposed to change your own Wikipedia page,
right?
They change it back. All these same intelligence people, apparatchiks, who when one of the videos that I put up, if we get a chance to get to it, a Jimmy Dore video, where they just parrot the same talking points over and over again. They just repeat the same phrases over and over again. It's a type of hypnosis they're trying to put us under, right? It's a type of mass control that they're trying to put all of us under by repeating these same phrases, repeating these same buzzwords in your subconscious, so that when you go out into the world, if you're not paying attention, if you're not a critical thinker, if you're somebody who listens to MSNBC or CNN and watches them uncritically, and you believe what you see and hear, you'll repeat these sayings, like everybody was saying, safe and effective, safe and effective, safe and effective. What did you see? What information did you read? What studies had you seen that let you believe they were safe and effective? I didn't see any. And I never said that. You can look at, my history of YouTube. I never said that. But what happens now through the time capsule of YouTube, when you watch videos talking about vaccines from 2020 and 21, or whenever the vaccine came out, from 21, 22, whenever they had it, so you couldn't talk negatively about it without having your channel destroyed, everybody says these vaccines are fantastic and it was great. And so that's what it's creating a censorship. Self-censorship is censorship. And so what that does is it creates this bubble around the past and around the truth. And so the only thing you'll hear about or remember or encounter are those things that you were able to say. And so we'll go back, oh yeah, the vaccines were good. See, everybody on YouTube before every video said it was good. Everybody said they were safe and effective.
Yeah.
Same shit here. Sorry, Dad. Same thing here.
Woo, good point. Good point. All right, so back to the article. Newsweek, once again, they're pretty much, I'm pretty sure they're leaning more left as far as their portrayal painting of Gonzalo. So Gonzalo Lira, 55-year-old Chilean American who was in prison in Ukraine after allegedly spreading Russian propaganda, then violating his bail conditions, has died in the Ukrainian jail. Posting on X, formerly known as Twitter, conservative social media personality Tucker Carlson said he had been informed of the death by Lira's father. Speaking to Newsweek, a State Department official confirmed the death of a U.S. citizen in Ukraine. Let's once again, this is a U.S. citizen in Ukraine, regardless of where you stand on the left or the right, whether you agree with him or not. Nothing against Alexey Navalny, but he was a Russian. He was native to Russia, I believe. This is a U.S. citizen we're talking about, died in Ukraine. And they offered their sincerest apology to the family for their loss. The cause of Lira's death has not been confirmed. Newsweek contacted Ukrainian Foreign Ministry for comment by email on Saturday. Lira was formerly a pickup artist. Here we go. Lira was formerly a pickup artist who posted videos on YouTube under name Coach Red Pill. He was living in Kharkiv when the Russian military launched a full-scale invasion of Ukraine in February 2022. So they're already peppering through the article, just kind of shaping the perception. I don't care what does him having a pickup artist YouTube channel history have to do with his political activism of what he's been doing with Ukraine and whatnot. But anyway, I get it if this was like his obituary we were just reading out. Lira gained a following by posting content hostile to the Ukrainian government and its president, Vladimir Zelensky. Lira baselessly, that's another word, like play on words the left likes to use, the corporate media on the right and the left, baselessly branded Ukraine's leader a cokehead and described the Russian operation as one of the most brilliant invasions in military history. Lira was arrested by the Ukraine's Internal Security Agency, the SBU, on May 1st before being released on bail. Lira subsequently released a video saying he was going to try and leave the country before being rearrested for allegedly breaching his bail conditions. And I think I saw one of those last videos where he was trying to make a crossing somewhere. He was just on his iPhone going live, just kind of like middle of the field or whatnot. And he was like, this might be my last video. Speaking about Lira's arrest, the Ukrainian government's Center of Strategic Communication and Information Security, known as Spravdi, said the YouTuber poster, I think they meant the YouTuber, poster has been charged with justifying Russian aggression against Ukraine in violation of Article 4632 of the country's criminal code. Specifically, Spravdi said that Lira had justified the Russian attack by falsely claiming the Ukrainian government was a neo-Nazi regime and denied massacres of civilians, Ukrainians, by Russian invaders in Bucha and other cities. Spravdi added that Lira filmed himself insulting Ukrainian soldiers before publishing the footage on social media. On April 3rd, 2022, Ukraine's prosecutor general Irina Venedikova said the bodies of 410 civilians have been recovered from Bucha, a town on the outskirts of Kiev, neighboring settlements following the retreat of Russian troops. Taras Shprevsky, speaker of the Bucha City Council, told Newsweek, "We have official data confirming deaths of 422 civilians at the hands of the Russian occupiers." Posting on X, formerly known as Twitter, in July, Lira has said he was arrested for my YouTube videos. My crime was making videos critical of the West and their proxy regime in Kyiv and how they're just destroying Ukraine. Lira added that he was also tortured in prison and by other inmates, which saw him beaten and sleep deprived with arms twisted the wrong way at the shoulder. These allegations were strenuously denied by Sarah Ashton Cirillo, a former American journalist who became a sergeant in the Ukrainian army, in an interview with Business Insider. Yeah.
Pause. So
Okay.
Ashton Cirillo is a trans person who's got a shady past. They're from, I believe, Max Blumenthal was going to do a deep dive into their background, but
Was she
Ashton
going to make
Cirillo
that creepy video?
yeah,
How dare you, like, was that her?
yeah,
Yeah. Okay.
yeah, trans person, and Ukraine notoriously dislikes trans people,
Right.
and gay people.
Shocking.
So
Yeah. Okay.
right.
All right, so these allegations were strenuously denied by Sarah Ashton Cirillo, a former American journalist who became a sergeant in the Ukrainian army. In an interview with Business Insider, Cirillo said, in an effort to gain sympathy, Gonzalo Lira made up allegations of abuse and torture. As someone who spoke to him shortly after he was returned to custody, it was clear he was in good health and treated extremely fairly by the state security services. Um, When asked about Lira's reported death by Newsweek, State Department spokesperson said they could confirm the death of a U.S. citizen in Ukraine. Spokesperson added, "We offer our sincerest condolences to the family on their losses. We stand ready to provide all appropriate consular assistance out of respect to the family during this difficult time. We have no further comment." Posted on X Friday, Tucker Carlson wrote, Lira said his son died at age 55 in Ukrainian prison, where he was being held for the crime of criticizing Zelensky and the Biden governments. Gonzalo Lira was an American citizen, but the Biden administration clearly supported his imprisonment and torture. Several weeks ago, we spoke to his father, who predicted his son would be killed, Carlson added. Russian troops have spent the last couple months attempting to capture the eastern Ukrainian city of Avdiivka, with heavy casualties on both sides. They have also launched a number of drone and missile attacks on Ukrainian towns and cities, including one on December 29th, which Kiev said involved around 110 Russian missiles and numerous drones. Newsweek has been unable to confirm this figure. All right, this is written by James Bickerton, Newsweek reporter based out of London, UK. So, Conspiracy Brother, let's go ahead and dive in on this. Give me your thoughts. Lot to unpack.
Well, yeah, it is. It's quite a lot. And the thing about it is, like they try to say, oh, he was critical of Ukraine. Are we saying that the United States government funds a country who does not respect free speech? Is that what we're saying?
Might be.
I mean, it has to be what we're saying, right?
Yeah.
That the United States is actively funding to the tune of $160 billion a country that does not value free speech. Because that's essentially the way they're trying to portray this. That's the justification. Oh, well, you know, he criticized the Ukrainian government. You could say, hey, man, that was uncool or whatever. But it is nowhere acceptable for the United States to be funding a country who doesn't respect free speech. Let alone that country is actively killing U.S. citizens whose only crime is criticizing the government.
Yeah. Freedom of the press. They don't believe in freedom of the press.
Well, that's the thing. None of these people believe in anything. That's what I'm saying, you know. They don't believe in anything. And we look at them and we listen to them talk on CNN, and Newsweek, and all these different rags. Nobody should take these people seriously. That is why all these different corporations, these media companies are laying off and firing people, because nobody is listening. People are tired. They're tired. They're fed up with this partisan BS. It's not informative. That's why people come and listen to shows like ours. Obviously, we're still building our channel, so you know, our show isn't the type of show that we expect it will be eventually. But people are going to the news online. They're going to podcasts. They're going to independent journalism, right? You're going to comedians because they're trying to tell the truth. The only people, I mean this to be as offensive as it sounds, who are watching places like CNN, MSNBC, Fox News, CNBC, I know that's primarily financial. The only people who are listening to the Washington Post, the Wall Street Journal, the New York Times, the only people who are taking these publications and media outlets serious are brain dead.
It's not just that. They want to be told what to think, what to do. I don't want to think. I just want to work my 10-hour, 40 hours a week and go home. And I want to live in the comfort. I want to live in the coffin of my comfort zone. These people want to live in the coffin of their own comfort zone, be told what to think, sweet nothings whispered in their ears. That's who these
Right.
people are. The masses, the sheep. You know?
And that's exactly it. You are the kind of person who is Forrest Gump. You're a real life Forrest Gump. Right?
Well,
we always tend to think of life in such extremes that Forrest Gump has to be somebody who's completely incapable of thinking for him or herself in all situations at all times. But it's not. You're Forrest Gump. If you watch CNN and MSNBC and take it seriously, if you look at the New York Times or the Washington Post or the LA Times and you take what those people are telling you seriously, you are Forrest Gump.
yeah. There's no getting through to those people. Just
Not at all. Not at all. You know, you don't want to know better. You're being lied to and misled, and you don't even want to know better.
That's uncomfortable, conspiracy brother. I just want to just watch the news and watch Netflix. I don't need to know all that. I just want to be told everything's okay, and my food prices are going up. My food grocery bill is going up, and it feels like inflation. But they said it's not happening, so I guess it's not.
Well, this is uncomfy truths. So, I mean, that's the best I can do is do that. You should be uncomfortable because if you falling for that garbage, man, you got a problem.
Yeah, this ain't the channel for you. This ain't the show for you. You want to be a little snowflake, go right ahead. So, all right, yeah, but rest in peace, Gonzalo Lira. I'm sure we'll be talking about him at other points. Now and then. Has done great work. Once again, I know everybody. There's probably some stuff, some shady stuff he's done, but at the same time, you have to look at the people that are under attack from the media, the government, those are the people that tend to be getting attacked too. I'm sure Alexey Navalny, he's done some good or in some aspects, but yeah, more on that. All right, so moving forward, this is next we got. So go ahead, conspiracy brother, break this down. What was going on here?
So we just got the result, the report from special counselor I forget his first name, Kevin Hur, I think, Kenneth Hur, Kevin Hur, detailing that Joe Biden's brain is so messed up that even though he broke the law by taking classified documents, that he doesn't think he could get a conviction if he were to take the case to trial, because he thinks people would just say this poor old man is just ridiculous. And so it's just a compilation of some of his gas. It's about a 2-minute clip from Sky News Australia.
All right, let's go ahead and watch it, and we'll discuss it. Let me know if it's too loud.
Before I go, let's check in on the leader of the free world, the man that Special Counsel Robert Hur determined is too mentally deficient to stand trial, but he can apparently run the most powerful country in the world. You work that out. The Biden defenders, from Kamala Harris to Hollywood stars like Barbara Streisand, have come out strongly to defend the president. They claim he is cognitively sound. The LA Times even called his advanced stage a superpower, really.
Wait. All right. So we gotta pause. Just talking about LA Times propaganda. Just seems like last year they were really coming after Biden, like they're about to push him out of office. Now they're right back on script defending this guy. I saw this earlier this week. Conspiracy Brother, like, I don't know. I can keep playing it, but that's just.
I mean, yeah. I mean, I just mentioned them. You know, anybody who's listening to these rags, you know, you want to be misled. There's no other excuse. You want to be misled. You know, they're full of crap. They're all full of crap. The people who work there, the people who write for them, they're full of crap. And if you're still listening to them, watching them, or reading them, you want to be misled. They're full of crap.
And here's a quote from here's a quote, and I'll tell you who it's from. The party told you to reject the evidence of your eyes and ears. It was their final, most essential command. George Orwell, 1984. All right, let's watch the rest of this.
Oh, you be the judge.
The brewed here, it is used to make the beer. It is. My memory is fine. The president of Mexico, Sisi, did not want to open up the gate. A solid meeting with the Mitterrand from Germany, from France, looked at me and said,
elderly man with a poor memory.
"Listen, I'm going to be a president for everybody, whether you live in a red state or a green state." Anyway, I don't want to. Making Roe v. Word. The best way to get something done, if it holds near and dear to you that you like to be able to. Anyway, Putin's kleptocracy. Yeah. $159,000 billion left. America is a nation that can be defined in a single word. I was what am I doing here? 1, 2.
A well-meaning elderly man with a poor memory.
Oh, all right. That's Conspiracy Brother. Initial thoughts before we get into the next.
Yeah, that's his superpower. His superpower is being potato brain.
Oh,
his brain is made out of mashed potatoes. That's his superpower. Fantastic.
Age limits.
You know what I mean?
We need age limits.
When Trump walked down that ramp at the West Point, or it was either West Point or Annapolis at the graduation for the military academy. I think it was either Annapolis or West Point. And he walked down slowly. Everybody said, "Hey, is he retarded? Is he somebody should have some kind of evaluation on Trump. He's an idiot." And here you got Joe Biden claiming to have spoken to dead people. Brain completely like turning off mid-sentence. How many times have you seen Joe Biden talking? And in the middle of talking, he just says, ugh. Like it's too much for him to think about what to say next.
Yeah.
And they want to say it's a superpower. But like I said in our
your eyes, I told you, Conspiracy Brother, don't believe your eyes, don't believe your ears. You know, it's all in your head. Just vote blue no matter. It's all in your head.
But like I said,
all right, we want to watch a few of these, or what?
We can. I want you to watch the one. There's a Trump video. There's two. It's one. It's a short one where it says this guy is a doctor. He psychoanalyzes Trump.
Okay,
and I just think it's interesting. Like you have these people. Like maybe Trump has got some issues. I'm not even saying maybe. He's got issues.
Yeah.
There's the one with the 27 psychiatrists or neuro whatevers. Like that's 10 minutes. We don't have to watch all of either one of them. But it's just interesting that it was completely fine 5 years ago, 6 years ago to say this stuff. And now if you look at the news, because if you watch Jimmy Dore, he kind of has the longer videos of these all these people in the news media saying, "Oh, this is gratuitous. It's gratuitous that her said this about Joe Biden. It's gratuitous." What are you talking about? The guy's brain doesn't work. It's not gratuitous. It's just the facts. It's just a fact. Just like they used to say on Dragnet.
Right.
I don't know how many people watch Dragnet back in the day, like on Nick at Night.
That's also
Just the facts, ma'am. That's what it is. It's just the facts, ma'am. This guy, his brain probably got holes in it. He's so brain dead.
And it's crazy how, like, and once again, yeah, we can kind of just reference the audience and kind of maybe watch these or whatever. But yeah, this comes from Vice, which is pretty left leaning. Actually, Tim Pool from the Tim Daily Show or Timcast, he used to work there. And, you know, this was 2018. So during the Trump presidency, the height of the Trump presidency, you know, you could bash Trump all day long. Oh, he's crazy. Oh, he's this. Oh. But we saw nothing. At least Trump's mind was there. You know, I still got a lot of issues with Trump, as I always say. He's not on my number one list of people to vote for. But you can't be all about bashing the president, because every president gets shit, you know. But, you know, you can say he's crazy or whatnot, but you can't say Trump was incompetent. You can't say that he wasn't all there. So they had no problem bashing Trump. But as soon as Biden, they want to defend, oh, no, well, this is why his age is a superpower. Oh, well, he can do this. Oh. You remember when KJP, Karine Jean-Pierre, this was like maybe last year or the year before, she was like, well, what are you talking about, Biden? I could barely keep up with him. Biden is so sharp, I could barely keep up with him. And it's just the gaslighting it's just, oh, you know.
Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
For me, I don't even care if you say Trump was, I don't care if you say, hey, Trump, you know, his brain didn't work. Like, I don't even mind saying that. Perfectly fine. But just be consistent and allow me to say, hey, Joe Biden is clearly demented as well. Like, just be consistent.
Right. Have the smoke for everybody. I got smoke for Obama, Clinton, George Bush Sr., Reagan. I got plenty of smoke for Jimmy Carter, Nixon, all of them. You know, pretty much all of them passed after JFK. Well, actually really started with Woodrow Wilson. He was the one who was like heavy communist, helped set up the Federal Reserve, hated America. So really started with Woodrow Wilson. I don't have any, I got smoke for everybody after Woodrow Wilson. But yeah, all right. So we got this next one.
You said you don't have smoke for Woodrow Wilson, or you do?
No, I do. No, I said I do. It kind of, because it started with him. He was the first one that really had the first sort of start turning America communist agenda, breaking down our ideals. He was a pro-communist. He helped lead the way for the Federal Reserve, IRS. So it kind of, a lot of it started with him as far as like the decline of what America is in some aspects. You know, LBJ and all of them, you know. But yeah. That's a whole nother show.
Yeah.
So yeah, all right, so what we got here next? You want to hop on this? We got two other links after this, so we're doing pretty good on time.
Well, if you want, I wanted to show the
clips. We do have the Jimmy Dore.
Yeah, you want to show the clip from go about halfway in.
Okay, since we're still on Biden dementia.
I'll go back a little bit.
No wonder Steve Garvey.
I'm signed out of my account. Hold on, I got these ads.
Supports moving Trump's border wall. Garvey stands for Trump. Both times he was the best person for the job. I voted for
Marcus Garvey. No,
too conservative in California.
Yeah.
How to store and all your photos and videos in seconds. No knowledge required.
Killing with them ads.
Yeah. All right. So wait, about here. Here.
Yeah. Let's try there.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. They're part of the dogs of war.
I wonder if they had their sense of irony surgically removed. They can certainly afford it.
Well, big pile of money.
Here's my new favorite. This is
this chick's great.
She looks like a cartoon of a person. She looks like if she was 85 years old. It's not 90-year-old women.
You know what she looks like?
She's in her 40s. This woman's like 40, and she dresses like this and looks like this.
She looks like the guy in Groundhog Day. It's like, hey, Needle Nose Ned.
Yes.
If he transitioned.
Listen to what she says. Listen to her. Listen to this.
Norms are important, right? The reason we're so
Norms are important. And one of those norms is ignoring that your president is obviously not in control, demented, to the fact where the guy he handpicked to prosecute him said, I can't prosecute him because he's going to get off because the jury will say he's old and he doesn't have a memory.
Remember when you said adult children of alcoholics?
Yes, we're adult children of alcoholics.
That's what the word norms are important.
So that's right.
Shh. Norms are important around this house. You know that.
So this shows you that I've said this for a long time. We're a country full of adult children of alcoholics. You don't get mad at the guy who's fucking you. You get mad at the guy who tells you that some guy is screwing you. And that's what this is.
Oh, all right. So I'm going to pause that right there. That was a great bar Jimmy just said, because that's an overview of kind of the political climate we're in, this truth-telling era, is that people don't get mad at the person that's screwing them, to not get us striked on YouTube. They don't get mad at the person that's screwing you or lying to you. They get mad at the person who tells you that you're getting screwed and lied to. Like, I had to at least just, let that be known. But
well, yeah, I mean, and that's the conditioning, right? Because you're so conditioned in this country to be partisan, right? We're so conditioned to just, I got to fight for the blue team. I got to fight for the red team. Don't you dare say something about my president. When the guy, like I said, you could literally see his brain dripping out his ears. Okay? It's melted. It is melted. It ain't melting. It's melted. If he moves around too quick, I'm sure you can hear it sloshing around. Okay? Don't you dare say a bad thing about my president. Bro, get out of here. You are making this country less safe. If you're not making the country less safe.
And the thing about most of these people is all on both the right and the left, is all emotion. It's all just tied to their guy or their gal. And I think Killer Mike summed it up best. I think he was on Bill Maher. God bless Bill Maher. He calls out woke stuff, but he's still a bit of a lib. But Killer Mike said it best. I vote for the policies, not the person. I vote for the policies, not the person. And these people who, are the same people that it's kind of like the pimp. It's kind of like the pimp and the hoe. It's kind of like, if you're stuck to the Republican Party, the Democrat Party, they're like that pimp that keeps coming back and beating you up. And everybody's like, well, he's bad for you. He beat you up. Like, no, he cares about me. Don't you say that. And they go running right back. It's that pimp and the hoe syndrome on both the right and the left. But yeah, let's continue. Let's watch the rest of this.
They're not angry at Joe Biden and the establishment for giving us this demented mummy of a person who's obviously just a tool of the corporations who own him. They're not angry at that. They're angry at that someone told you that he's demented. They're not angry that he's demented. They're angry that someone told you. And here we go. Here we go.
Norms are important, right? The reason we're so far along here because norms have not been followed.
Once again, this is a special correspondent from Vanity Fair. So already part of the liberal elite bourgeoisie. So
I would say
norms have not been followed. So she does the vocal fry. She's a grown-up person worth millions of dollars, and she's talking like a valley girl doing vocal fry.
Okay, so just norms are like laws that you follow because you're a cut.
I don't think that her is a good faith actor, and I think that 45 pages of that show that. I mean, he's not a neurologist. If you want to on legal things, that's fine. But the idea, and again, to fault someone for saying they don't remember during a deposition, when we've seen people like Dr. Anthony Fauci say that hundreds of times during a deposition.
She thinks invoking the fact that Anthony Fauci said, I don't know, hundreds of times when he was doing a deposition about COVID. She thinks that that's a good defense. Again, these people, someone's turning on this to get news. There's people who watch.
Thinking man's Alexander Pelosi?
She thought that was a good defense. That's like
Nobody's turning it on to get news. People are on like a treadmill
That's
or an exercise bike, and they happen to catch a little clip of it on the thing, and it's just enough. That's why it's repeated all day. So because who is going to watch? If you,
Kurt just nailed that point right there. Conspiracy Brother, did you catch that?
Oh yeah, man. Kurt is always on it, bro.
Kurt is on it, bro. That's my guy. He just nailed it. Normie.
Nobody is watching that stuff. And I mean, there are people who are watching it. Unfortunately, there are.
It's background noise. They're on the bike in the background doing their Pilates, and like you said, they hear a sound clear. Oh, hear just enough to go repeat it all week.
Right, and that's the problem. It gets into their subconscious brain because they're not listening to it actively, so they're not even fighting it. And then you wake up one morning and you're repeating garbage, and you don't even know where you heard it from. You don't even remember.
Trump bad, Orange Man bad, Biden good. Just the caveman, little caveman programming. That's what we got.
Hey,
all right. So,
our potato man is good. Orange man is bad.
Yes. No critical think. Me just angry. All right, here we go.
Dingbat is saying you would never. You wouldn't be interested in politics. You'd be interested in Taylor Swift and that football guy. So this is so while you're busy, a liberal on the go, at the gym, at the whatever, you're gonna not miss your medicine of hearing this hypnotism, neuro-linguistic programming.
This is your 5 minutes of hate.
So advertising is that. Run it all day. Run the ads all day. They're advertising.
This is your 5 minutes of hate. I need to hate somebody and pretend and block out what's really happening. So what's really happening is you're being ruled by the military-industrial complex and Wall Street and Big Pharma, and they have a demented puppet in the.
You said it, norms.
The White House. That's the norms. And so people need to block that out. So they turn this on so they can take the hatred they're supposed to have for that, and they can put it at someone who just told them the truth. And that's what Molly Jong Fast is there to do, is to give you someone to hate besides the actual corrupt system you're supposed to hate. So you take the hatred that's real and should be directed at the powerful who are screwing you, and you take that hatred and you put it towards someone who just told you the truth about that system. That's what Molly Jong Fast is there. What she's doing right here, sucking horse penises on OnlyFans, has more dignity than what she's doing right here.
Yeah. I mean, I would say she is doing that here. I would say
this is the equivalent of that.
As a bit further into the video, I just want to
as above, so below.
Over and over again.
Yeah. All right.
Go
that was brilliant.
Maybe to the 7 minutes, or no, go to 5 minutes.
5 minutes? All right.
Yeah.
Descriptions was gratuitous.
What's that? A little more?
A little bit more ahead. This is go up more, because this is the clip. No. Go like maybe 4 minutes. Because this is the clip I wanted you to see.
Okay, all right.
Keep going. I'll tell you when.
Say when.
All right.
Right here?
So about 3 minutes and 30 seconds.
Okay, all right.
Why do they all? Yes. Why do all those people sound like Ben Shapiro is reading an ad for Sherry's Berries? Well, it's because it is ad copy, but it's ad copy for Demi's Dummy. Listen to this. I think they got money. Listen to this.
Inappropriate criticisms of the president.
So they're talking about the report that the special counsel, again, appointed by Joe Biden's hand-picked guy, Merrick Garland, they're trying to say that guy's a partisan, and he was being inappropriate. And what was he saying?
General Eric Holder said the report, quote, contains way too many gratuitous remarks. The gratuitous comments, they're saying it's gratuitous. We certainly agree that it's gratuitous. The gratuitous comments in the report are troubling, and they're inappropriate.
Reality is that part of the report does not live in reality. It just doesn't.
So the special counsel
it was gratuitous, it is unacceptable, and it does not live in reality. That is just the facts.
The comments that were made by that prosecutor, gratuitous, inaccurate, and inappropriate.
So
inappropriate criticisms.
So do you remember when the doctors got caught taking bribes from Big Pharma to push the jab? You remember that? We covered that. Do you think the Democrats are paying out money now for people that use the term gratuitous? Because that's what that sounds like to me.
It's a little gratuitous, is what
I think that is. I think their use of gratuitous is a little too gratuitous. I think and inappropriate.
Yeah.
So here we go. Here's more. Here's on MSNBC.
The word of the day in this report came out to describe the descriptions was gratuitous, and I think that was right. There were cheap shots.
I found some of the language in the
Cheap
report
shots. You mean the truth?
I think that this special counsel report was gratuitous.
This gratuitous language that he used. Gratuitous language about.
So you know they all. So they all got. So this is they all got handed the same script.
Yeah.
They all got handed the same script. From Kamala Harris to Morning Joe Ball, Dick Wheat.
I really wanted to get a chance to see all of that, and that really, I feel like, helps to express what I've said before. It's like they do this as Kirk called it a vocal. What did he call it?
Neuro-linguistic programming.
Yeah, neuro-linguistic programming. So that's why I said it's some kind of hypnotism. Because it's like, have you ever seen The Manchurian Candidate?
Oh yeah, classic. I saw parts of the old one. I seen the new one with Denzel, but yeah.
Yeah, it's like it's like we're all being turned into Manchurian candidates, and so they're having to repeat these same, phrases in order to get us fully indoctrinated. Because they don't even have different words. This is national media. They don't even have. Either this means that there's too much 24-hour news coverage and there are not enough words in the English language to convey thought. So they got to repeat the same things over and over again. So stop with all these 24-hour channels because there's not enough news to actually fill that time slot. I'm
sorry, you go.
Or two, that the actual White House is writing these directives for all these newscasters to read.
Yep.
And they have no variation whatsoever. And they're just reading them verbatim. In which case, in this whole exercise, because you're not a free press, you are in fact a bought and paid for press, who is the literal mouthpiece of the U.S. government, masquerading as a free press. This is unacceptable. This is why people go to YouTube. Because at least at YouTube, you just got to watch ads and worry about censoring yourself. Or you go to Rumble or you go to Odyssey, which the Odyssey should be working now. I believe I have it working for this video. Rumble is working, so that's not a problem.
Cool.
But this is why people go to these places. You're being lied to. You're being lied to. There's no other way to understand it. You're being lied to. They're lying to us. Well, they're lying to y'all. They're not lying to me. I'm not falling for it. But you're being lied to.
And great, excellent point you bring it in. It kind of reminds me, and I kind of talked about this before in our group chat conversations. State-run radio, state propaganda. Killer Mike, Lupe Fiasco, love him or hate him, but they were the ones that were calling this out in both the Bush and Obama administrations on just the level of propaganda we have from the top down, government down, to the media publications. And this reminded me, have you ever seen Conspiracy Brothers movie came out about maybe like 8-10 years ago? You know who Jake Gyllenhaal is?
Yeah.
Toby Maguire looking dude. The movie called Nightcrawler, where you play this very slimy, shady guy who gets he becomes like a news camera guy. He goes and follows accidents and violent crime, and he starts towing between the line of reporting the crime and creating the crime to report. And it's like a very good movie with a lot of the inner workings of the media, even at the local level, and how the sensationalism and how they get the footage of things going on, and they could cut and manipulate. And it's a great movie. Anybody hasn't seen it, I'm looking up. Yeah, Nightcrawler came out 2014. Jake Gyllenhaal, and it's kind of Hollywood. One of those sort of Hollywood sort of exposing who they are and what that industry is. And there's even like things where, like during the movie, I remember like this producers yelling into the earpiece of the anchors, like, well, say this, well, say how savage it is. And then you see the anchor people going like, yeah, this was just such a very savage attack. How could they do something like this? Producer's like, yeah, make sure you reiterate how terrified. And then the anchor women go like, yeah, I don't know about you, but I'm really terrified to walk outside at night anymore after this. And that's just sort of the level that we have here, whether it's local news in your neighborhood or on the national media publication side. This is all happening. It's all an act. It's political theater. They have a script they got to put out and sell to you. They're selling the fear. They're selling the paranoia. They're selling you the lie. So I just want to kind of bring that up. Great movie, and it kind of reveals a lot. Yeah. Anything else we got on this conspiracy, brother? You want to watch a little more, or we got two links left. Show.
Well, I've never seen the movie. I don't watch a lot of movies.
Yeah, check it out. Check it out, especially with this media. There's a lot of parallels that made me remember that movie, and they do a lot of the inner workings of the corruption. I want to say corruption, but just sort of just the shadiness of local news, and is very parallel to what we see here in real life. But yeah, it's a great film.
Oh yeah, I believe it.
Yeah,
I believe it. I believe it. But we can go to the next thing. If you want to look at the video where they talk about how Trump, from 27 psychiatrists, say that Trump has some kind of issue, or you can do this one. We could just transition to this last article.
Okay. Then we got the Best Buy article, and then that's it.
Well, yeah, that was kind of more just like looking at the whole WEF. You'll own nothing and like it.
Yeah, I feel like it's a fun little article. We could kind of reminisce about Best Buy. Maybe I think maybe at the end of each show we'll do like a little kind of less serious, fun article to kind of chop it up on. So we could do that one last. Just give our thoughts on it.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. So, do you want me to read this one, or
sure?
All right. Sources say U.S. intelligence agencies tasked foreign partners with spying on Trump's 2016 campaign. Oh, it's a long read, ain't it? All right. All right. So, sources say U.S. intelligence agencies illegally mobilized foreign intelligence agencies to target Trump advisors long before the summer of 2016. The U.S. intelligence community asked fellow members, Five Eyes Intelligence Alliance, to surveil Trump's associates and share the intelligence they acquired with U.S. agencies, sources told the small independent reporters who broke the story yesterday. We might have to split this article in half. All right, and CIA had foreign allies spy on Trump's team, triggering Russia collusion hoax, sources say. Journalists Michael Schellenberger, Matt Taibbi, and Alice Gutentag reported that top-line takeaway, along with several other key details, according to the authors. Multiple credible sources said that the U.S. intelligence community, including the CIA, illegally mobilized foreign intelligence agencies to target Trump advisors long before the summer of 2016. The article published on Schellenberger's Substack noted, until now, the official story has been that the FBI's investigation began after Australian intelligence officials told U.S. officials that a Trump aide had boasted to an Australian diplomat that Russia had damning material about Democratic presidential candidate Hillary Clinton. That probe, dubbed Crossfire Hurricane, launched July 31st, 2016, although Special Counsel John Durham would later conclude the Australian tip failed to justify the investigation into the Trump campaign. Spying on Trump. However, British intelligence sources began targeting Trump on behalf of American intelligence agencies possibly as early as 2015, according to the Tuesday Blockbuster article. Was that before or after he came down the golden elevator, Trump Tower? Several outlets had previously reported that the British government communications headquarters, GCHQ, had discovered alleged ties between Trump and the Russian government. According to the British-based Guardian, a source close to the UK, intelligence claimed GCHQ first became aware in late 2015 of suspicious interactions between figures connected to Trump and known or suspected Russian agents. Yet the Guardian reported GCHQ was at no point carrying out a targeted operation against Trump or his team or proactively seeking information. The alleged conversations were picked up by chance as part of a routine surveillance of Russian intelligence assets. Overall, several months, different agencies targeting the same people began to see the pattern of connections that were flagged to intelligence officials. Not so according to Schellenberger, Taibbi, and Gutentag sources who were familiar with the House Permanent Select Committee on Intelligence Investigation. In truth, the USIC asked the Five Eyes Intelligence Alliance to surveil Trump associates and share the intelligence they acquire with the U.S. agencies. The journalists reported their sources as saying with the Five Eye nations being the United States, United Kingdom, Canada, New Zealand, and Australia. Sources also claimed, according to the Tuesday's article, that President Barack Obama's CIA Director John Brennan had identified 26 Trump associates for the Five Eyes to target. According to the journalist, a source confirmed that the IC had identified those associates as people to bump or make contact with or manipulate, and claimed the individuals were targets of our own IC and law enforcement, targets for collection and misinformation. A source close to the investigation reportedly told the team of journalists that they were making contacts of bumping Trump people going back to March 2016 and sending people around the UK, Australia, Italy, and Mossad in Italy. The MI6 was working with the intelligence school they had set up. Schellenberger, Taibbi, Gutentag further reported their sources claimed that the unknown details about the FBI investigation of the Trump campaign and raw intelligence related to the IC's surveillance of the Trump campaign are a 10-inch binder that Trump ordered to be declassified at the end of his term. The three journalists stressed that this is a new information and is supported by testimony already in the public record. In fact, much of this article confirms theories developed from the evidence gleaned over the years. So Conspiracy Brother, let me go ahead and get your thoughts. We can chop it up.
So I actually knocked out. My internet knocked out, so I missed kind of quite a bit of what you just said.
Oh,
but what I will say, the last I heard, is the U.S. government. I mean, we've heard this story recently with the Twitter stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But the U.S. government allowed the Five Eyes nations. I don't know if they mentioned Five Eyes nations. The U.S., Canada, the U.K., Australia, and New Zealand are the Five Eyes countries.
Mm-hmm.
So the United States government allowed foreign countries to spy on the Trump campaign so that they would not be subverting the Constitution by doing it themselves. You understand what that's saying? What that means? You know?
Shadow government. Let's get other countries to do our dirty work. And then
but I'm saying if just like with Twitter, where they'll say, these are private companies, so they can do what they want. Where the U.S. government essentially contracts out censorship and enforcement to private companies so that they won't be subverting the Constitution or violating the Constitution. It's the exact same thing here. You've allowed foreign countries to spy on you and share the information. That's corruption. That's what I was talking about earlier, where you think America's corrupt like Mexico. American corruption would blow Mexico's corruption out of the water, but you don't hear about it because we control the media everywhere around the world. So they only tell the story the U.S. government wants to be told. How do you allow a foreign country to spy on? And remember, Trump said this: the Obama administration is spying on me. Right. And Obama said, "No, we're not. He's crazy." Well, no, technically they weren't. Technically, the U.S., the UK, Canada, New Zealand and Australia was doing it. But if they're all sharing the information and they're doing it at the behest of the U.S. government, what is the difference? But see, this is the problem. So long as this was only happening to groups that conservatives disagreed with when it was the Bush administration, or groups that were anti-American, the Black Panthers, or any other because now you see they talk about like Antifa, and now I'm not even sure if Antifa exists or if it's like an FBI thing entirely, because these people are allowed to get away with stuff that a normal group wouldn't be able to get away with.
Oh, they get away with murder, like
right. So that leads me to believe that they may be all feds. There may be no legitimate, regular, grassroots, activist people on the ground, except when they need them to justify the perception of the organization, right? When you need people to actually commit heinous acts, then you rile up these brainless idiots to go and do some nefarious stuff. But I think it may be totally at the top. It may be totally orchestrated, mastermind, and controlled by the federal government. Because it makes absolutely no sense that there's no way the government is getting involved. But the same way you saw with the January 6 tapes, where there's more and more information coming out, that the majority of the people who were involved in damaging the actual Capitol may have been feds. The kidnapping of the governor of Michigan. More people were feds doing that than actual people.
Yep.
There were more feds involved in the planning of that than regular people.
And the one or two guys out of those 22 feds was like maybe like mentally handicapped or autistic or something like that, that got entrapped in all that. So what does that tell you right there? And that kind of stems to the history of these mentally ill individuals that always tend to fall through the cracks or just in the FBI crosshairs. Next thing you know, they're committing a mass shooting, whether they're trans or whatever it is. Not to say that's all of them all the time, but you're seeing a lot of that. And you're seeing that level of entrapment here. You know?
Correct. 100% correct.
Oof.
And so without a revolution, we're going to be further and further under the thumb of these evil people. Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer, Mitch McConnell, Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, all of them. It's kind of so bad now that you don't really hear a lot of Republican senators, but Ted Cruz, Marco Rubio, Tom Cotton. All of them. They're monsters. These are monstrous people.
Lindsey Graham.
Lindsey Graham. They're monstrous people. Honestly, they're monstrous people.
Yep. All right, y'all. Uncomfy Truths. We got one more. Thanks for tuning in with us. Those that are still here. We're here bi-weekly, about every 2 weeks, twice a month on Fridays mainly. And we're about to wrap things up, keep things light on a little pop culture update. Those of y'all familiar with Best Buy, I definitely went through my Best Buy DVD phase for years. But it's coming to an end, y'all. So, Conspiracy Brother, would you do us the honor of reading this last article? It's bittersweet.
Okay, well, just like you hear talked about with the WF, you'll own nothing and like it. We see Best Buy as of January 24. They are going to stop selling physical media from stores across the country. Okay.
Right.
So this is from what is it called?
Kotaku.
Oh, Kotaku. Yeah, I couldn't remember if it was there or from The Verge. This is probably some of the most traffic Kotaku's gotten in months.
I never heard of
the days of walking into a store and spending hours slowly exploring aisles of movies, and new and old, are ending, as Best Buy's previously reported plans to stop selling physical media begin in 2024. If you've been alive and paying attention to the world over the last decade, it's not surprising that physical media is being phased out. As streaming and digital downloads have become increasingly popular, the demand for DVDs and Blu-rays has cratered. Anecdotally, most stores I visited in the last 2 years have devoted only small areas to such media and only stocked new releases and holiday-themed films. Talking to others revealed this to be a larger trend. Now, Best Buy is taking the next step and officially ceasing the sale of physical movies in the new year.
Oh, that's it? Oh, no, man. Oh, here we go.
In October 2023, the Digital Bits first reported Best Buy's plans to phase out physical media sales. The massive retailer later confirmed the news, telling the Associated Press, the way people, quote, watch movies and TV shows is much different today, end quote, compared to the past. Quote, making this change gives us more space and opportunity to bring customers new and innovative tech for them to explore, discover, and enjoy. Quote, end quote. Best Buy told the AP last year, which, while that sounds nice, in my experience, stores have replaced DVD sales with more Funko Pop figures, gift cards, none of which are innovative. The AP confirmed with Best Buy last year that it would continue to sell physical video games. For now.
Yeah.
There are reports that Best Buy has already begun to remove physical film and television media from stores. You can still buy movies on its website, but looking at the upcoming new releases reveals a lot of broken and repeated entries for old, previously released films with incorrect data and no images. Either Best Buy has plans to sell 6 new versions of Bad Moms on Blu-ray and DVD this year, or its current listings are more likely a side effect of the company ripping apart its back end as it prepares to remove physical movies from the site completely. Video games are safe for now. While games won't be affected by this new policy for now, it's not hard to see. Well, whenever I go to the store, they don't even have the video games out anymore. They always have them locked up or somewhere hidden, so you can't even get to them most places.
They better keep them locked up. Shit, way shit is going.
But I mean, they're not in the plastic most of the time anyway, so it's weird. But it's not hard to see a future when Best Buy and other large stores remove physical games too. Digital downloads and streaming are more popular than ever, and we've already seen one large AAA video game, Alan Wake 2, skip a physical release entirely. And even when you do buy games physically these days, it's often a worthless bit of plastic DRM, as most games rely on external servers delivering massive downloads to work properly. So in many ways, the era of physical media for video games has already begun to wind down, even if stores are still selling discs. As for why physical media is still useful and important, well, I could talk about preservation and how it allows movies to exist regardless of who owns the copyright, but I'll just let Best Buy explain why DVDs and Blu-rays are still useful using the message from the website that will likely be removed very soon. With streaming media increasingly available, you might wonder why you'd want to own a physical copy of movies and TV shows on your Blu-ray disc and DVDs. Well, you might want to be entertained in part of the world without internet access, like when you're watching TV in a remote cabin getting a getaway or keeping the kids entertained while they're in the car. Plus, serious fans of certain TV shows like to own libraries of their favorite movies and shows for marathon watching sessions or loaning to friends.
That's based. I'll give my initial thoughts since you can give a moment to.
Was that the end of it?
Yeah, that was the end.
Okay.
I got this giant ad. Okay, hold on. I got this. All right. Yeah, I'll give my initial thoughts. I think overall, I don't think this is like a huge blow to like, oh my God, pop culture. Oh my God, oh no more DVDs. At the end of the day, Best Buy has been kind of on the downward spiral for a little while. I mean, back when I was still middle school, high school, college, trips to Best Buy to get the new DVD. I was on that for a long time. I was a big film fan and, still am a bit today, as far as some work I do. And I went through phases of having a bunch of DVDs and then selling them for money and then getting rid of them and buying them back again. So with Best Buy, they were kind of shaving down that DVD library for years. So you would just go in there every few years, be a little less in the aisle, or they just had two huge aisles, like an aisle and a half. I was down a half aisle a few years ago. So I do kind of see your point as far as like maybe moving towards this less physical, you will own nothing, and doing it in small increments, incrementalism. But at the end of the day, like I've been kind of buying back DVDs the past few years. You can still get them online. You can get them, thrift stores. In my personal opinion, is my favorite, thrift stores. And at the same time, with DVDs, I mean, you do have special features. You got behind the scenes. You got director's commentary. That's something that is not available on download. So I don't think there'll ever be like a renaissance where DVDs come back and they're worth a lot of money. But I think they're definitely something worth collecting. I kind of fell off the video game wagon probably a couple years after college, so I didn't really get over that online play hump, if you will. So I think, end of the day, it does come bottom line to money, especially with inflation not helping. I mean, the average DVD, if you go to like buy a brand new DVD from Best Buy, you're talking $20 minimum. 17. I don't remember the last time I seen a DVD like at a retail store, like a Target or Best Buy, like under $20. So who's really going to be paying $20, $24.99 for a movie, or like $70 for like a TV season? So it's bittersweet. I get it. The whole kind of like when Blockbuster went away, you can no longer go down the aisles to look at the DVDs. But at the end of the day, there's thrift stores and there's other smaller chains that you could still get them at. Best Buy, they have to kind of do what they got to do from a bottom line standpoint. And nobody's about to buy a $25, $30 DVD of Barbie or Oppenheimer, in my opinion.
Well, see, here's the thing. I think in general, it's not an issue. Yeah. Honestly, it's not a concern. The problem is this. We're getting to a place where corporations are trying to continue to make profit year over year over year, right? And they can't. You can only charge so much before you price yourself out of the market. Inflation is ridiculous. We talked about greed, right? So what do they do? What happens? What do they do? Years ago, they would sell physical downloads for, Adobe Photoshop or Rosetta Stone or something, right? You have a physical disc. Okay. And I was actually watching this video. They were discussing how it is actually smarter to pirate a Photoshop and Illustrator or Rosetta Stone than it is to purchase it. Here's the example they give. They phased out the support for Photoshop, let's say Creative Suite 6 or 5. So if you bought it 15 years ago or whenever it came out, 20 years ago, you can't use it anymore. Even if you have the disc, even if you've got the code, you can't use it anymore because it doesn't work. But if you pirated it, you still have access to it. Okay. And the reason this is the issue is when you buy something digitally, you don't own it. So you may buy a movie from Amazon. Oh, I like this movie. I'll buy it digital download. But if they stop hosting the movie on their server, you lose it. You don't have it somewhere separate, saved, for you to access it later. It's gone.
Oh yeah, exactly. And I'm not like knocking like the owning of DVDs at all, because like I said, I mean, Because you have maybe your favorite TV show, your favorite film. It's on Netflix one month, and all of a sudden it's on Hulu, and then they get rid of that, and it's on HBO Max. So yeah, I'm definitely with you as far as like owning the DVDs, like having them so they're yours. Because other than that, you're gonna have like 6, 7 subscriptions. You know, I'm just not about. I'm not buying $25, $50, $30 for a movie, or like $60, $70 for a TV season. Like at the Best Buy store. Like I'll go to like I mentioned, thrift stores or other places to get them cheap. You know, so I'm just knocking like the commercial price at like, you know, your high end retail store versus just getting that DVD at the thrift store. But yeah, I'm with you on that. I do see kind of like, you know, the danger of just digital and moving away from the physical. Yeah, I just go where the bargains are at. Like I'm gonna get the physical.
Oh yeah, and I'm not I'm not trying to say that we need to artificially support. You know, like I don't go see a lot of movies, and I think, you know, the majority of the movies that are made are trash, and so they don't deserve to be supported. Right. But what I'm saying is it's a sign indicative of greater issues long term. When you buy a Tesla, car, you know, majority of us I don't think are going to have this issue, but it's an issue that's coming along with the electric car revolution they're trying to push. Mm-hmm. When you buy an electric car, when you buy a Tesla, I'll say, if you get it fully loaded, right?
Right.
You get a car fully loaded, a Tesla. You have the option to unlock all the features. If I buy that car and then I sell it to you used, the features lock again, and you have to unlock them yourself. Pay money to unlock those again. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. You'll own nothing and like it. We're getting into a world. What I was talking about, the situation with Illustrator and Photoshop. What happens now? You don't own a physical disc. You pay a monthly. Or yearly subscription, and they update a new one, and then you pay a monthly or yearly subscription all over again. You don't get to have a disc and burn it and give it to your friends, burn it and give it to this person and share it. You don't have that option anymore. Yeah. So they're trying their best to keep you in a matrix. Like I'm telling you, we're going to get to a point in life where we're going to wish that the matrix, the tubes, not the hallucination, not the program, but the tubes, being a body floating in a vat with tubes, will be an upgrade to what we actually have to live through at the rate we're going. They want you to eat bugs. They don't want you to own a house
and live in the pod and be happy.
They don't want you to own a car. Yeah. Or if you do own a car, they want you to own a car that they can turn off when they want to, that can only go 200 miles before you have to wait 4 hours to charge it again. They don't want you to own a house. They don't want you to know what a woman is or what a man is. They want your children to hate you. They want your wife to hate you. They don't want you to have any money. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I see the big macro. Yeah,
this is the world. This is the world they want us to live in. They don't even want you to be able to own movies and DVDs anymore.
Yep. Just subscribe to these eight streaming accounts, and if the movie's on there you like, great. If not, tough shit.
And if you bought it, you didn't own it. Keep giving us money. This is the issue, and I don't know how you feel about it, but this is the issue with capitalism that I have. It is a system that is built on greed and exploitation. Yep. You always have to consume. It requires consumption. So innovation is only around insofar as it is conducive to consumption. Things don't improve because they need to be better. They improve because they need to create a justification for more consumption. So we could do this thing here and make it better. But if it generally wouldn't make us a greater profit, we're not remember this had to be around 2013, 2014 when GM had the I think it was the Cobalt, the Chevy Cobalt, and there was an ignition issue with it, and a 50-cent spring would have corrected the issue, but they didn't do it, and it was shutting the car. Was like if it hit a bump, the weight of the key was turning the ignition off, and the car was shutting down while people were driving it, and a couple people died because the car shut off.
I think I remember that. Yeah, it was a few years ago, right?
And it would have been a 50-cent spring. It would have been 50 cents to put the spring in the car to correct the issue with the ignition. But they didn't do it. No hourly worker said, "Hey, I'm not fixing this spring." It was a decision at the management level for a 50-cent piece that cost people's lives, because innovation is only useful in a capitalist system insofar as it generates profit. And 50-cent profit is not enough to justify saving lives. And this is when like I said, this is 2014 or so, and I'm going to use some foul language, Dad, so just forgive me. But this is when I learned the whole system was bullshit. This is when I learned it. So GM's CEO is Mary Barra. She's been the CEO since this happened. Before she was the CEO at GM, she was like some kind of VP or something at GM. The former CEO resigned. She became the CEO, and she had to go to Congress, and they grilled her at Congress, asking her about this part. And I'm sitting here thinking to myself, I'm 20-something. Why are they asking her all these questions? She just became the CEO. She don't know nothing. And that's when I knew it was all bullshit. Because you're sitting here grilling this woman when the man who did it, who made the decision, stepped down. And because this is a corporation and they have, legal protection because of the corporate status, you can't ask him questions about it anymore. So you ask the new CEO, even though she don't know nothing about it. Couldn't possibly. And that's when I realized it was all a sham. Just like the situation with Gonzalo Lira, just like the situation with Donald Trump and the way that they have abused the First Amendment rights of Americans for the last 7 years. And longer, depending on what you're looking at, right? When you look at the Panthers, when you look at Weather Underground and any of these groups who may have been involved in trying to do radical freedom justice movements in the United States, they have no problem abusing your freedoms. Guantanamo Bay, the Patriot Act, suspended habeas corpus. You can be now, as a U.S. citizen, you can be detained in the United States indefinitely.
Because of habeas corpus, right?
Because of the Patriot Act suspending habeas corpus used to allow, like let's say, you were being put in prison. You could file the writ of habeas corpus and they would bring you before the judge. It means you have the body. Habeas corpus, you have the body. It's a Latin phrase. And it goes back to the Magna Carta, if I'm not mistaken.
But the Patriot Act
allows for
that.
And the Patriot Act nullified that. It suspended habeas corpus. So now you can be detained and never get to see a judge, and there's never have a trial, never be convicted, and there's nothing you can do about it as a U.S. citizen. Any of us on terrorism charges could be arrested by the FBI or somebody on terrorism charges and thrown in jail and never be seen again, and nobody would know. And we'd never get out, and we don't even have to be charged. We don't even have to be convicted. Sorry, charged, not convicted. This is the country you live in. It's an erosion of what was supposed to be the American way of life.
Whew.
Not being able to own DVDs is
It's
a
just
small
speaking.
symptom.
Yeah.
It's a small symptom of a bigger issue. You won't own your house. You won't be able to have real food. Your children will hate you. Your wife will hate you. You won't know what a woman is. You won't know what a man is. When you don't pay for your car, we'll turn your car off. When you go somewhere we don't want you to go to, we'll turn your car off. The central bank digital currency, the CBDC.
Yep, that's coming.
You can't spend your money on this. We don't like this. You can't buy this.
Mm-hmm.
You haven't been sufficiently supportive of the government. You can't go here. We are living in a totalitarian state. Joe Biden is a fascist. One of our earlier episodes, we talked about it. We are living in a fascist state.
It's death by.
Do not be afraid. Don't let them fearmonger you into thinking Trump is a fascist. Joe Biden is a fascist. Anybody who tells you that Joe Biden is a milquetoast, neoliberal, and Trump is a fascist is lying to you. And I'm speaking about Cornel West.
Yeah.
Anybody who will call Joe Biden milquetoast when he is very deliberately trying to destroy the fabric of American society and destroy the freedoms that Americans are supposed to be able to hold dearly, they're lying to you. They're tools of the establishment. Whatever their intentions might be, whatever they purport their intentions to be, anyone who would have you believe that Joe Biden is anything other than a fascist is lying to you, and they're your enemy.
Yeah, death by 1,000 paper cuts. It's incrementalism is what's killing our country and our society. So I don't know. I just want to end it there. I think you couldn't have summed it up any better, tying it all back. Yeah, other than that, y'all, Uncomfy Truths. Thanks for tuning in. Episode 19 is in the bag. We'll be back first Friday or first Saturday of March, so either March 1st or March 2nd. Have our next episode. We'll be celebrating episode 20. Might have a new or recurring special guest. But yeah, Conspiracy Brother, anything you want to add before we wrap it up?
Yeah, I'll just say it's nothing, nothing too much. Just please try to wake up and understand the game that they're trying to pull. Read books, try to make yourself, and I think, maybe we'll try to do like a book club or something too.
Yeah.
Just try to recommend some books that I think maybe Behold the Pale Horse will do that. We can do book club recommendation, and then maybe once a week go over, maybe we'll say like read a chapter a week or something. I don't know how long the chapters are. I mean, it'll probably have to vary book by book, but we can say we'll have a book club show once a month, or maybe we'll even have it alternating, if we can fit that into our schedule, alternating weeks. So we'd have, shows 4 weeks in a row. And then one is a book club show, and one is a regular show. And we'll just discuss the chapters that we read. Any notes?
Yeah. I like that.
Try to give people an idea about some literature they can try to read that might expand their thinking a bit, expose them to some different ideas and concepts that they may not get other places, but just, things that are definitely good and enriching for them in the long run for their awakening, their red pill moment. Maybe they can free themselves from the matrix, and we can have the revolution we need, the political revolution we need to, make this country finally be what it always professed to be, because the vice grip is turning every day. I see it, and a lot of times I feel like other people don't see it, and I don't understand how people don't see it.
A lot of people don't see it.
Yeah, I don't see how people watch MSNBC and CNN, and we just went over that. So obviously, but yeah, so I'll let that be where I land. Just we got to be diligent and keep trying to get the message out, because this is ridiculous foolishness at every turn. Just like the song, clowns to the left of me, jokers to the right. Here I am, stuck in the middle with you. And so, that's where we are, trying to figure it out. So episode 19 is in the books. I appreciate you joining me and Conservative Brother. It is Conspiracy Brother here. We'll catch you next show. It'll be episode 20, so that's kind of a milestone. Episode 20 of Uncomfy Truths podcast. Please like, share, and subscribe. And we'll see you soon. Peace.
All right. See you next time.